Are recording.
All right. Well, I would like to welcome everybody to the Park and Rec Commission meeting for Monday, April 11th. My name is Chris Gerstle. I am the current vice chair of the Park and Rec Commission, and I will be running this meeting tonight because our chair, Cindy Chaston, unable to join us for this evening. Before we do start this, I do have to read a script in regards to all remote meetings. So if you can bear with me for a moment, that would be great. As a preliminary matter, this is Chris Gerstle of the Park and Rec Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Michelle Geddes.
Yes.
Dina Hannigan.
Yes.
All right. Staff members, Stacy Mulroy.
Yes.
Fabian, you're going to make me pronounce your last name, aren't you?
Of course.
Hello, Goo.
Derulo. Yes.
Derulo. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. This open meeting of the Needham Park and Rec Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with the Governor Baker's executive order for March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In the order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. As such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as a reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. The meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Needham Park and Rec Commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along with using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker of the agenda. After they concluded their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps you generate accurate minutes. For any responses, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comments as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes of any comments. Finally, each vote of this meeting will be taken and conducted by roll call. All right. Now that we are here, I do see that we do have some guests. And is there any open forum or public comment to start off the meeting?
So I just want to address, so both Lindsay and Josh are looking to, Josh has raised his hand and we can call on him next.
Okay.
Lindsay, put in the questions. Can they make a comment? Lindsay, the second question I'm going to answer live, and that is, when we call on you, we will allow you to talk. So you will be able to see us. We won't be able to see you, but you'll be allowed to talk and it will be recorded. But she was checking on the letter that was submitted about the Needham Action Park and to ask how to best move forward with next steps for showing community interest.
Okay.
So do you want to call on Lindsay to speak first, or Josh?
Yes.
Doesn't want to talk to us anymore. No, he does. But we can call on Lindsay first. We're going to promote you to talk, so you should be able to.
Yes, we'll go with Lindsay first, please.
Speak now, Lindsay. There you go. You should be able to talk.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm here. Thanks very much for acknowledging us. I'm here with my son, Caleb. Do you want to say hi? Hi. Caleb's 9.
Can you do a favor for the record? Could you just state your name and your address, please?
So my name, we have the same address. So Lindsay Page and Caleb Molyneux. Fabian will appreciate the spelling, Molyneaux. And we are both at 47 Mayo Ave.
Thank you.
And last week, Josh and I worked together and got input from some other folks in the town regarding an action park. We put that letter together, submitted it to Stacy and Fabian and to the general Park and Rec email address. We got a lot of great feedback from folks, and I think we're interested in moving forward fruitfully. So wanted to ask the question first of how best to show community interest in the idea of an action park. We don't want you guys to be barraged by tons and tons of different folks. So I'm wondering about that. And then just really interested in moving forward productively in terms of a conversation of where it might be located, how we can move forward, and how we can collaborate on making it a reality.
That's great. Stacy, is that letter in our packet, or was that sent in a separate email? Or will it be?
It will be sent
It will be sent.
in a
Okay.
separate email.
All right. Lindsay, to answer your question, I mean, yes, we always looking into other options that are out there. Speaking for myself, that this is something that I know has been on the Park and Rec Commission and staff's agenda of something to definitely discuss and have an open dialogue with. Without seeing the letter so far, I mean, I can't really comment on it, but I know it is something that we are definitely wanted to look into. It is something, as I mentioned, has been on our radar, and we would love to explore the opportunity. Where we stand right now, just of a timeline wise, is that we are about to go into our May town meeting, where we do have some articles and items that we've already had on our action plan, and we need to make sure that we kind of finish those first before we start the new items. So if you could give us to say maybe the next meeting, which we will discuss at this meeting, for us and all the commissioners to take a look at it, kind of, take care of all the things that we need to do that we already have set up, and then we can have a great conversation and an open dialogue with you and other members. Does that sound like something that is a possibility?
I think, can you still hear me? Oh yeah, I see that.
Yes.
I'm talking. I think that would be absolutely terrific. So would that be like 2 weeks from today, or you're suggesting after the May meeting?
Oh, I mean, what I would say is, like, give us the 2 weeks that we're, going to be looking at it over it. And if we could fit you in on the 27th, boy, we'd love to fit you on the 27th. But May 9th, that is the time that we're going to be right in town meetings. So if it's not on the 27th, it would be after the May meetings. Depending on how many days town meeting goes, we could possibly put you in for May 23rd. But again, we don't know how long that's going to go. So, I mean, we'll shoot for either one of those dates and get you in as quickly as we can.
Okay, that sounds terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And I'll jump in here first. I'll apologize for not sending that email sooner. It got lost in translation, as always, as a lot of emails do, but I just did send it to the commission now, so they now have it. And I made a note to add you to the agenda for our next meeting on the 27th, which is actually on a Wednesday, which is not typical for us, but we did move it to that day. I don't see anything coming up that would preclude you from being on that agenda.
Okay. So that would be April 27th?
Yes.
And that
Okay.
is also on Zoom.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
No problem,
No
Lizzie. Thank
problem.
you.
And Josh, did you want to say anything? If you want to raise your hand, I can promote you to talk. And if not, there it is. I'm going to let him talk.
Hi, Stacy. Thanks. No, I really are. I really echo Lindsay, and really the question was, how do we move this forward, and what do we have to do to make this an agenda item? We've obviously discussed a fair amount with you, Stacy. Excuse me, not Stacy and I. Lindsay and I have been doing some stuff in the background. I went to a skate park design meeting in Greenfield, Mass, by one of the developers that we've contacted, just to understand their process, just to see what it was about and how they interact with the community and a couple other things. But as Lindsay said, we'd really like to put this officially on the agenda and try to move this forward as much as we can. That's all.
Wonderful.
You're going
Thanks,
around the
Josh.
right way doing it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment or open forum for the first item agenda? All right. Hearing none, we'll go to the second item that we have on our agenda, which is the chair's update. As we all know, Cindy could not make this meeting tonight, so there has been a small update in regards to the procedure of how we're going to interview for our open vacancy for commissioner. So what we will do is that we will meet in groups. I think there's one, if not two, select board members that will be sitting in, Stacy.
I believe it's one or two. It
Okay.
can't be any more than that because then it's a quorum for both
Right,
of us.
okay.
So it can be up to two for each commission.
Correct. And what we will do is that we will meet individually. Well, we will meet with each individual person that is looking to become the new commissioner, interview them and have an open dialogue with the select board. And, you know, if anybody wants to be part of that discussion, you're more than welcome to. It will probably be by Zoom just because we want to, you know, make it as easy as we can instead of setting up like a real meeting at a location, whatever is convenient for us and whatever is convenient for whoever the participant is, we could possibly do something like that. So as soon as we have some dates on the calendar, we will get them out there. All right. Any questions?
And sorry, Chris, the invite will be sent out to everyone. Because
Yes, like if there's
Okay.
somebody that wants it, like Michelle, if you want to be one of the, you know, people to interview it, great, we'll get you in. And, you know, it would be great if there was two people from the Park and Rec Commission to kind of bounce questions off along with the select board and kind of come up with a recommendation after interviewing all 5 or 6 candidates.
Five.
All 5 candidates. So
I have 5.
you have, okay, 5 it is. So, all right.
And this
Perfect.
is a standard process. It just seemed, I think in the past, have we not had this much interest? And so there hasn't been
Right.
this robust of a process, because this feels very formal.
It is. I mean, we've never run into this before. It was always like, you know, with the untimely passing of Dave DeChico that we had Matt Toolin ready to step in because he was finishing out the term. And prior to that, I don't think we've ever had an open seat open for a long time. It was either one person was coming in, the other person was, you know, or going out and the next person was coming in. So this is kind of the first we've done it with it in at least my tenure.
Right. This only would happen outside of like the typical town elections. And so because this couldn't make it on the ballot, that's why this process comes into play.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Anything else no, nothing else for the chair's report. Next, let's jump to the director's report and I'll hand it over to Stacy.
Oh, thank you. So spring programs are running and very successfully. We've had to cancel a few programs, but not too many were running, and the ones we are running at high levels. So that's great. Our events, our registrations are exploding. So the fishing derby and touch of trucks both have over, those are on the same day. They both have over 100 registrants so far. The townwide cleanup has 23 registrations. But typically those are all like one person, meaning a group. And aside from that, which I haven't put up, is Fabian has been contacted because I gave everybody his name about a lot of companies in the Needham area are contacting us to do cleanup days. Like I know he spoke with TripAdvisor this week or last week. And there's a few other companies that are doing their own things outside of our town cleanup days. So that's actually a pretty positive.
And we would welcome these businesses in to join our townwide cleanup correct?
Yep, we always ask them if they want, and they're like, well, we have to do it in June. Is that okay? And the answer is always yes, you can come pick up trash for us. No problem.
June, July, August, September.
And I assume we're reaching out directly to the groups to notify them of this day. Because I think, yes, it's going out in a general communication, but I know groups have been so like interested in being involved. So I think the more we can like send a specific email to say this is the day, we'd love to have involvement, and just making it like very clear that we would encourage involvement, I think would be great. I know like the Needham Soccer Club is almost like formalizing more volunteer opportunities, and this seems like a great opportunity.
They are. Apparently they have a volunteer coordinator now that helps with this. So my thought process was obviously to send it out to all of our field users. Like I have a field user group email, so that's one. but then also reach out to some of the people that wouldn't necessarily be on that group, like the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, some of the religious entities in town, some businesses, and have our Amy Halison send it out to all of our businesses in town and just say, like, we're doing this, come chip in.
Maybe also the PTCs you can send to.
They're on the field user group.
Oh,
email,
awesome. Yeah. I
'cause
do
they're
have
always
a
requesting
question.
stuff, so I just added
Yeah.
them here.
Awesome. I have a quick question, Chris. I don't know when is the right time, so you decide, but I do want to chat a little bit about the field status on Saturday morning.
We will go over that with the items not anticipated by the chair.
Okay, all
That's
right.
So,
Yep, that's fine.
no, good point. I knew you were gonna bring that up, so thank you for doing that.
Yes, yes.
The only other question I would have in regards to the townwide cleanup, didn't we kind of toy with the idea that to get a permit, you had to almost kind of participate in something like this? So I
So
think.
we are going to send it out to our permit holders as like, so it'll be a double email for the permit holder, so I apologize ahead of time, but we are highly suggesting and recommending, though not requiring it this year, that they do a cleanup day with their groups.
Okay. Perfect. Touch the truck. I can't
Really
believe
quick, I
that's-
just want to mention also too, we have a gentleman named Matt Robinson that's been working with us too. He has a town cleanup Facebook group with what he claims is a few hundred people in it. So he's been communicating all of this information to his group too. We've worked with him in the past for the fall cleanup, and he brought out a pretty big crowd. So he's kind of coordinating some people with this also, which has been very helpful.
Fabian, what's
very
the name of
passionate.
that Facebook page? Oh, sorry, Stacy. What's the name of that Facebook page?
I am not too sure the name of his page, but it's related to Needham Cleanup.
Okay,
And his name is Matt Robinson, is the
All right.
gentleman.
I'll look for that.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Anything else to do with the spring programming and events? For the first bucket you have there, Stacy.
Nope, but Touch a Truck is obviously gonna be going strong as well. Touch
Good.
the Trucks, I'm sorry. Dumb name. Summer programs, the brochure is available. Our programs are filling. Currently, Kids Off Broadway and Tennis Academy are leading the way with the most registrations. And our vendor programs by Skyhawks and Fun for All. And I'm pretty sure my kid's gonna sign up for the slime week, so that's good because it won't be happening in my house. But they're also seeing high registrations. So summer is going very well. The pools
That's
are up,
great.
swim lessons are available for registration. Currently, we are at the writing of this report.
Mhm.
We were at 588 resident memberships and 11 non-resident memberships. And this time in your packet, I included, and we can go through this next so that I can walk you through what was included. But there's a membership report income report,
Mhm.
a program income report, and then an overall income report. This is something that MyRec can do for us very easily, which is why it's included, because I just really had to hit a couple of buttons and it PDF'd it for me. So we will continue to send you guys those as we are continuing to get a lot of revenue. Once it starts to level out, I won't bother sending those to you again until the fall session.
Okay.
Fields and facilities, we have only sold 29 tennis memberships to date. That's not surprising. We have had numerous people come into the office to buy tennis memberships because they can't figure out how to do it. But it is what it is.
Can we get?
If we have a park ranger, then we can monitor said tennis courts.
Can we get an estimate of where we were compared to, like, I won't do the COVID years, but prior? Like, I mean, we know it's been making a comeback. We kind of didn't do anything for the last 2 years. Just some rough
So-
numbers, like on average, we have 102 tennis badges a year, or is
We
it?
can try.
Okay.
All that information is in Sportsman, which we no longer have access to. Before we got rid of Sportsman, we ran every report imaginable. Going and finding information in those reports has proven less than helpful.
But
But
like the
It
new
does
system-
exist. We need an
Okay.
intern for this kind of thing. Be lovely. All right, most of our grass fields open on April 4th, as it turns out. McLeod, Warner, and Healy are still closed. Greens and Pollard open up today. Warner and McLeod are supposed to be closed because of the concerns about the fencing. There's safety concerns. We have heard that nobody pays attention to us and they have been playing on all of the fields regardless. So we are aware that that's happening. We do not have the manpower to police it. But the reason is an Asa Smalls fence also needs repair, but it is not a safety concern. So that one we opened. But that's the reason. Healy was closed because it just got hammered in the fall and it just needed some time.
And when
Sorry, Michelle, go ahead, please.
do we have a plan in place? If the fencing is an issue, do we know when fencing is going to be resolved? Do we
So we got a
know?
quote, we put in the PO. The PO came back and Eddie has scheduled Argus to come out here and start the work ASAP. So either this week or next week.
So from what I know,
Yeah.
Stacy, if you can correct me, it's not replacing the fence, it's more of just tightening what is there, right? So it's not like the fence is going to fall down, the whole thing needs to be replaced, but it's more of a proactive than reactive thing of like, God forbid, if it takes any more abuse, it could fall. Let's just nip
Yep.
that in the bud right now.
Yep, and so it's gonna be, I think, and don't quote me on this, but it's around $14,000 for us to repair these 3 fences. And it's, like Chris said, we're not tearing them down. We're repointing some holes. We're fixing some of the mesh. We're making it safer.
Good.
And Healy what's the time frame for that?
I didn't get a time frame from Eddie today. I can reach out to him and Dougie tomorrow and find out what's going on there because I didn't get a full explanation on that one because it was wrapped in with everything else. So I'll reach out to Ed tomorrow.
I just think, because right now the communication is, at least from a participant's perspective, the communication is coming out like week by week. So that it's like you hear that we're not going to have access to it very close to the time when the games are going to happen. So if there's a specific date that Eddie feels like it will be open, I think it'd be better to say it's not going to be open till the middle of May and like say that.
Sure,
so
I can find out.
I
I mean,
don't know what
we
you're saying and what's being communicated.
are
So
doing field status updates daily, Monday to Friday. So those are going out to whoever is on them and they're on our webpage updated every day. So if you know of anybody not on those, they should certainly be on those.
I don't think that, but that's not the problem. The problem is having to reschedule every practice or game that's on Healy the day before because the update is coming out the day before game. So if we know that it's going to be several weeks for that field to sit and rest, it would be helpful, I think, to communicate to the user groups that chunk of time.
No, that's a very good point. Like, why deal with day to day? Like, if you know it's May 1st, then May 1st, that's when it'll be open. Again, I just threw that date out just to, as an example.
Yep, that's fair.
I do have to say also, and I know that I get the alerts every single day. I do like the new way that the message comes out of how the fields are open or closed. The old way it used to be, it was like you could have misrepresentation, misreadings, whatever it might be. I think the way that is going out now, it's very clear, concise, in my opinion.
Yeah,
No
I
problem.
agree.
The person in our office that has a little bit of OCD may have done that.
It's God love them. Yeah.
Stacy, you may have answered this previously, but when are the bathrooms going to be opened for the season?
So I was trying to explain this to the Floridian the other day. It depends. So because the pipes are winterized, we have to have enough days in a row where it doesn't drop below 35 at night because we can't risk the pipes freezing. So while we've had some 60-degree days, at night it's still dropping low.
Okay.
After talking to building maintenance, who are the ones that went on winterize and de-winterize, we're looking at, they might start the process middle of next week or the following week.
Okay, great.
And then they'll just go place by place, and as they start to open, then we will update on the field status and everywhere else when they'll be open. In the meantime, we are working on the contract with the porta potty company to get the porta potties out to the fields.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a good question. Anything else? I know we could talk for
Yes.
hours about fields.
Storage containers.
Yeah.
So I've reached out to Bob Lewis to confirm one more time. And then I reached out to Eagle Leasing Company to confirm one time, and he did confirm that it was $7,300 per unit, not for all 5.
Too good to be true.
That's a bummer, because the way I read it, I thought it was for all of them too.
Right, because he said about keeping it under the $10,000 range. so you
Yeah,
have to do
yeah.
a bid process or something like that. So,
He did for one.
so you think we're gonna go 5 separate bids or 4 separate bids?
Yeah,
That is a red flag waiting to happen.
Yes.
And no, I am not doing that.
So
totally.
with that, I mean, we love the concept. I assume it wouldn't be a financial smart idea to lease them. I know because we looked at the price like, oh, to buy them, we'll do it. I take it the lease would just, it would be too much of a financial burden on us.
So I talked to Patrick, who's the guy at Eagle Leasing. So I'm going to reach out to Patrick and say, we don't have the money to buy 5, but what are the options for leasing? Is it feasible? Does it make sense? Like what are our options at, like, from the municipal government side of things? So I owe him a call tomorrow morning because I did tell him we were meeting tonight.
I mean, I'm gonna ask a crazy question, but like, if user groups want them, I mean, why, if somebody really needs it, like, they can help pay for them, no? I mean, I mean, I don't need them, but like, if another user group really was in need of them, I would think that would be part of their program expenditures. And could they buy their own, or it has to be this process?
So I don't know previously what happened, but I did talk to Dave about this. If somebody, like, you can't park your car in your neighbor's yard without your neighbor's permission.
Yeah,
So we would either have to allow that to happen, but there's a liability situation where they would have to take out significant amounts of liability.
Oh,
much like you
right,
do
right.
For a field.
yeah,
If we charge a fee for them to be on there, then there's a different kind of liability.
yeah, I
So
forgot
it's a
about the insurance.
longer conversation with Dave
Yeah.
Davidson, because I did bring this up with him.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not sure what the right path is.
yeah,
I feel like I think it's one thing for us to buy 5 units and decide who gets them. I think it's another thing to piece by piece say, sure, you can put a unit on. Sure,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
put a unit
yeah,
on.
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
could cause more havoc than it's
Yeah.
worth.
right.
I mean,
Or
either
even
way,
maybe,
it's a rabbit.
yeah,
hole,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I totally agree, but maybe even, I mean, this is probably sounds more complicated than it is, but like, maybe even factoring the cost of them into user group fees, right? Like, you Park and Rec pays for them, we pay for them, but then it's essentially, they're under your jurisdiction, but
subsidized by
like
the
you
groups.
rent them.
Right,
Like,
but then they can only be
rent them.
subsidized by the groups that are using them. I wouldn't
Right.
spread that out to, say, your group, because
No,
you
no.
wouldn't be using them.
right, right. But if the people who wanted to use them, maybe upping, I don't know, just an idea, like that just came into my head, like for the groups that do need it, maybe upping their user fees just a tad to help cover some of those costs. I don't know.
It's certainly an option, but we are considering upping the field user group fees in general, like we
Yeah.
haven't. And so that is
Yeah.
gonna be, it's the first process.
Oh, that's true.
And,
Yeah.
and if we do an à la carte version after that, that's fine. We still have to figure out how to get them here and what the cost up front is gonna be for us.
Oh, right, right. Okay.
Can I ask a question and hopefully I can explain it right? The park benches that we have in some of our fields, that they're donated by, say, a user group or a particular person, whatever it might be. Ones at Greens Fields were donated by, I think, the Closet Exchange person or whatever that might be. Can a user group pay for the use of a storage unit and donate that somehow as like, hey, we're paying for it, it's ours kind of thing, even though it's on your property? Like almost like the town accepts it as a gift and that user group has already been paying for it. So technically the town doesn't have to buy anything. The user group is the one that's footing the bill. There's probably an insurance clause that goes along with them renting that particular unit. Is that a possibility?
Perhaps. I mean, this is going to be, I don't know, because I think in some communities, sure. I think Dave Davison is very by the book and is going to
Yes.
be like right to the letter of the law. This is a longer conversation with him, and
Sure.
that conversation will not happen until after town meeting. So
Understood. And
we
it's-
can certainly back burner it until then, or
Sure.
side burner to them, but I would rather have a sit down meeting with him and be like, what are our options? What can we do here? There's
Mhm.
obviously a need,
Right.
you know, short of a capital project to rip down and overhaul the pavilion and add storage to it. There's no other option but to put in some sort of containers.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
not like the user groups are beating down our doors being like, we need this now. This is something
Yeah.
that we can.
Just
we
one
wanna-
group right now.
Yeah, we want to get the right thing to do it. Okay.
I
Well,
just, Chris, I worry, I mean, I think that's a good idea. The only worry I have is like, let's say a user group donates it, then can they use that, dangle it like a carrot, you know, like, well, we donated it, so we get this much space, you know what I mean? Like, then.
Yes,
kind of-
but you mean the same conversation I hear often, like, well, we donated to the Field of Dreams?
Yeah,
That comes up
exactly,
frequently.
exactly.
Everybody donated to the Fields of Dreams.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Stacy kind of hinted at it a little while ago too, is that, well, first off, like you mentioned, Dina, you kind of lose control at that point because then it's fully it. And second off, how do we determine who gets it then? What if we get, 6 different organizations that want to purchase one or donate for one? How do we determine who is going to get what?
Right.
Whereas if there are units, then at least we have that control. We can come up with a plan. But if not, it looks like favoritism. Otherwise, if we
Totally. Yeah,
don't-
yeah.
don't have control.
All
And
right.
even though it's not favoritism, we all know we're not, there is none happening.
It'll
I-
just look.
Still appears that
Field
way.
of Dreams is what kind of made me think of this, because that was how many years ago, right?
15.
Yeah, yeah.
Many.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Um,
So we will, I guess, side burn it, table it, and push it till after town meeting.
Sounds good.
Agree.
The last thing is I did get an update on the signage. I reached out to DPW. They're ordering 10 directional arrow signs, metal signs for us so that we
Awesome.
can put up the directional arrows at DeFazio. So we can make sure that people are following, we can make sure people can see which direction they should be driving.
I have to say on Saturday, and I'm sure the other groups did too. I sent out a very obvious, you cannot ever use this as a drive line, very specific. And I feel like all the user groups, I did not see anybody trying to use it as a drive line. And there was multiple, baseball was there playing, and of course, Chris, the uniforms, and then we were there, soccer was there. I actually think it went really smoothly.
I think the weekends are a lot easier than the weekdays.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point of where I
Yes.
think the biggest agita I'm going to get is the weekdays is you
In the
have
fall, for sure.
other towns like, you're right. It's Needham user groups using the fields on the weekends. When you have, say, Walpole or Wellesley or whoever's coming to our town, they don't know what they're doing. They're just kind of
Right.
coming into the DeFazio complex, and it's the Wild
Yes.
West. So
No, the signs are gonna be awesome.
could we even think about, I know it's not in the budget, asking to get somewhat of a police presence there during the week, at least just to kind of show that of like, all right, hey, we have you down once a week and pick whatever it might be. I know the police are probably overtaxed and, doing other things, but I think it would show a good sign to be like, all right, we're taking it this serious. There's a police presence. There's someone down there. And I'm not saying directing traffic, but just to know you can't go flying down the road.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
agree.
be out. Like, you got to start obeying the traffic, if it says this is a enter only or exit only, it's an exit only.
Even
mean-
a
So-
crossing
so-
guard, like, it doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be. Cause I mean, I know that that would probably be a bit time and a half kind of thing, but I agree. I think it's definitely needed during the
So I
week.
can certainly reach out to police and ask that their patrol cars swing by. But if we can give them like, this is the stickiest window, if you guys
Mhm.
could regularly swing by between 5 and 6, is that
Yeah.
the sticky window?
Yeah,
When's the
Kind of-
turnover happen?
It's the turnover. It's
Yes,
it's on the
turnover.
hour, so it's like 5:45 to 6:15, or it's right at that time. And I will say, I was there on Friday night. It was crazy. There's so many potholes already. I will say it is hard to drive through even the first week. And there was a helicopter evacuation because the Norwood Hospital is closed. So there were fire trucks, ambulance, police cars, and a helicopter landing on McLeod during the busiest time. So
Michelle, do you know what groups were there by any chance on the turf?
Soccer.
None of
and
them,
lacrosse.
hopefully during,
Oh, yeah,
helipad
none,
landing.
none
Yeah,
during-
yeah,
it
yeah.
was lacrosse, Dina.
Okay,
I
practicing,
don't think it was, yeah.
okay.
I heard it's
Okay.
field hockey. Heard they wouldn't get off.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was probably a mixture. I mean, I was watching because there was, there was soccer and lacrosse going on.
Okay,
That was
okay.
at like 6. But
Yeah.
just to enforce, like the flow, I mean, it could really cause issues for that, from like a medical evacuation issue too. So just getting people
Yep.
used to that cadence, I think it would be well
Right.
worth the cost.
Did you see everybody
Totally.
getting off the field though, Michelle? Like when the helicopter was landing, I take it everyone was off McLeod. Was everybody off Brock and Founders also? Because they should be. Like
No,
all people should be off the field.
So you're supposed to evacuate
I don't think
McLeod
anyone.
or Founders and Brock if they're landing on McLeod?
and the
It's-
track.
Yeah, and it's safety. God forbid if
Oh,
any.
I didn't know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
We did not, I did not know that.
Maybe I
Well,
should
they-
send a field update notice on.
They
Yeah.
played
There
through
it
the
is.
whole thing, and I mean,
Yeah.
no one was on McLeod. because there
Right,
was
but I mean,
no
saying
staying
like,
there
yeah, I just know
anyway,
that like.
No, I mean,
you
there were
gotta-
people hovering and watching, but the police were sitting there. They backed. No one was alerting anyone to get off the field.
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody
I'm
was
just asking because in the fall for high school field hockey, there was a landing or whatever on McLeod. And we just kind of, we all had to kind of move to the side. I didn't realize you're supposed to actually physically
Mhm.
get off the turf. So that's actually good for me to know.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll send an update because they're gonna come more frequently because Norwood's closed, because this is the new transfer area, like we
Yeah.
are in
They
the
were
high
also
traffic
there
zone
for
right now.
like 35 minutes. I mean,
Wow.
So
that
it is
will
not a
end-
fast process.
Because they have
right,
to
I mean, that
plan,
will end.
take the
And there's
crew,
nothing
stuff.
you
Yeah.
can do, like you can't argue Metaflight, like that's.
Yeah,
Oh, no, but I'm just saying,
Well,
it's
if-
not like it was
yeah, up and down.
up and down.
So if there's a medevac needed in Needham, for whatever reason, that's where it occurs is,
Yep.
Because it's close to
Only
128
McLeod?
for everything, yes,
Because
because.
it's
you
the
get-
only place because of the power lines, it's got the biggest area, it's the safest, it's not in a neighborhood, and it's
Okay.
easily accessible.
And it's just
Yeah.
not Needham, like Dedham uses it sometimes. I mean,
Oh.
it's just
Yeah,
because.
it's not
so
just
close to
us.
128. If you could have Newton, Needham, Dedham,
Yeah.
Wellesley, I mean, it
Oh,
all really
wow.
depends on how quick it is, so. Or how
And
far,
that's for an indefinite period of
it's
time?
always, got at
It's an
least.
agreement with whoever, obviously, Newton Wellesley has their own helipad, so those ones go there, but, we are currently taking the brunt. Norwood took the brunt of it because they had a great space, but now it doesn't exist at the moment.
you
Huh.
would think with the millions of dollars we just put into as taxpayers in upgrading Beth Israel, they would have put a helipad on the roof. Call
They
me
can't,
crazy,
because
but-
because of the zone it's in, they can't put one there.
Oh, gotcha. That's good to know. Yeah, awesome.
Uh,
All right,
CBC liaison, any updates?
Yes, so we had our final vote in regards to the tennis courts, and everyone agreed, is unanimous that it will be going to town meeting. No real big issue with the $50,000 to kind of find out how we're going to get from A to B. So I don't expect it to be an issue. And we also formally withdrew the boat launch at the South Street area just so we could have a better dialogue with the groups. It was a cluster of how many things we had going on. I mean, the untimely death of Tony Delgazo, the delay of getting everything in, and it's just, let's not force something that's going to go up. Let's have good, dialogue and conversation. So we formally withdrew that. So we should be good for May's town meeting for the tennis courts. Fingers crossed.
Awesome.
All right.
Chris,
State-
if you don't mind, I'm gonna walk you guys through these reports as part of the director's report.
Can I ask one question now, or you want to wait till the end?
No, go for it.
In regards, just quickly going back to the Rosemary pools, I take it we have the bid out in regards to the opening, or is that something we've already signed up for a 3-year contract with Weston and Sampson?
We're in year 2.
Nice.
They are scheduled to begin at the end of April. We are going to be ready for them to come in at the end of April. Like the outdoor restrooms, the plumbing department will wait until it's feasible to come in. They have to de-winterize the building. Once they're done, then Weston and Sampson will come in and begin de-winterizing the pool.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can I ask one question about just the regular registration? I know we talked about changing the policy around out of town registrations. Is that in place for this season, or is it for ongoing? Like, is it for summer registrations? I'm just wondering if that was communicated and if that would impact summer.
I can answer if you'd like, Stace.
Yes, thanks.
Sure. Yes, so it's going to start this season, and pretty much the way that it's going to work is residents and members will be able to register the Monday, the week prior to the week that they're registering for. Non-residents will be that Wednesday. So
You're talking about specifically pools, right?
yes, you were talking pools, or you're talking summer recess also?
She's talking everything, but you're specifically.
Oh,
pools.
okay. My apologies. Yeah, that's just in regards to the pool.
Got it.
So we did for programs, Michelle, after school programs, we did implement it this spring. It didn't go out as a wide explanation. We just opened it to non-residents. And we are getting some good registrations already for certain programs, which is great. The camp, the summer programs and the pool already sort of had their own. Like for the pool memberships, you can just buy non-resident memberships. You don't have to worry about that, but when you register for time slots, we'll do that way. Swim lessons were a week after, so we are implementing the week after rule.
Okay.
And things are beginning to fill up, which is nice.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Needham residents are aware of that, just because there's been opportunity to kind of come in the last minute, and so just ensuring that people are kind of aware of the policy, because it could impact the ability to register.
Definitely. I looked at specifically our summer programs, the ones we run personally, and we're not hitting any maximums yet. And we've been open for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. So
Yeah,
that's pretty good. But I agree, there's a laissez-faire attitude, because there could be, oh, I can sign up in June, there'll be plenty of space. I think people got sort of away from that in COVID because we had such limited options that people were registering sooner. But now we may start to fall back into that. So we should probably send something out that says, like, here's our new policy.
Yeah.
Once I write it up and you all agree to it.
Right. No, I think it's worth it just for transparency, so no one can come back and kind of question why there might have been a change. But that's great.
All right, so quickly, the reports. The first one is the program income. So this is anything after school, summer programs, basically not a pool or a tennis membership is what this is. Swim lessons, sharks, golf lessons, everything. And it's itemized by lesson, by program. So you're welcome to go in and look at the details. I sent it to you. However, the overall is up top. So basically right now, overall, we brought in $106,000 in programs. Because it does account for our refunds and our financial aid. That is 4 pages long. The next one is the overall income. So that's everything. That is just memberships, programs, everything between these dates. So it's from 3/30, which is when we open registration, to the end of September, which would include all of summer programming.
Stacy, would you say that's on page 7 of the package, just so everyone's looking at the same?
Yes, 7 of the packet is where I'm at.
Thank you.
So overall, we're at 439. And that's only like, you know, these are registration numbers from 3/30 to now, so less than 2 weeks. And then the next page, which is on page 8 of the packet, is just memberships. So court badges and pool memberships. And it itemizes those ones out as well. That is it for the report.
249,000? Wow.
What's that?
Just looking at the number, 245 or 9,000. from all that.
245 on memberships in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I was gonna say, that's kind of impressive.
We do what we can.
Yeah, I
I
was
kind
gonna
of
say,
loves us this time of year.
Sit
You're like,
back
"What's
and-
happening?"
let them-
It's like feast or famine. It's crickets for months, and then it's like boom.
Mhm.
That's fine.
So, and that is it for the report. So I'll add these in for all of our meetings. We'll just keep updating it and send it along. If there's any other things you want me to dive into that I can certainly try. If you have any questions about a specific program or an overall number or a report, let me know. And my rec, if I can't figure it out, is good at responding and showing me how to figure it out. So,
Fantastic.
which is more than we got from our last software company.
Right. All right. Michelle or Dina, any other questions in regards to anything that Stacy had or Fabian had on the director's report?
No.
All right.
But I will add that report is really incredibly helpful. It's really interesting to see it at that level. So even just sending it every once in a while, it's really helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
So thank you.
Well, and
And
I
I-
can send it on the Friday updates when we don't have a meeting too, so you can basically get a weekly update of like what it's looking like. Because it is funny when we hit, what's interesting is we bring in all our money, right, before July 1. The fiscal year turns over and then all our bills show up. So it's like we're front loaded with all this money
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's just like, it's just going out the door.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see.
And I do have
That
to
was
say,
great.
again, not to talk about prior, but to get this information up front, we never had it before. I mean, it was always September, October of like, oh, this is what we did in, June and July. So to kind of see this up, it's a breath of fresh air. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, great job. And I agree, the registrations, that's incredible. It's awesome.
Okay, let's go on to the fourth item that we have in our agenda, being an additional discussion items. I touched on the new commissioner process. Any follow-up questions by either Dina or Michelle? Okay. Capital projects. The only question I have, and I'm not trying to be a nudge, please say the tie-in bond contract has been signed in regards to the Claxton, project.
I can say it, but it would be a lie.
Well, we don't want to lie. Do we
But
have-
Chris, why do you say please? Are you being nudged?
Oh, hold on. I
Uh-oh.
thought that came in today. It was signed today.
Woohoo!
So it was signed today.
So
Can
it is,
we-
it's in Eddie's court to figure
Okay.
out, to send out the next things. He's reached out to Time Bond to figure out what their next steps are. We can send something out to.
Yes,
the
as a
softball
communication, can we please
friends
give the
tomorrow.
sorry, not the community group, the individual adults that like to send emails, can we please just give them a status update of the contract? Because I know that was one of the high points of an email that has been sent. It would be greatly
I would love
appreciated.
to.
That'd be
Yes,
fantastic.
but I also feel, I do agree that's needed, but I don't think we need to send a precedence that we have to update specific
agreed.
people as often as they're asking.
I agree, but it's one of the.
We're not, the town manager has kept them.
Yes, I
Check
did send her a note. Yes,
And she did ask me when this comes in, just shoot them a note and let them know.
yeah,
So I
Yeah.
will do that tomorrow.
And
Yes.
honestly, I think if we do that, that will calm everybody down or
yes.
satisfy the savage beast.
You just jinxed us, but okay.
Oh, fantastic. I'll jump around on this one. I'll wait for the next two ones. We went over CPC. Any other questions in regards to CPC? Nope. Okay. Playground priorities. I know that we had talked about this at last one, and I know Cindy is not at this one, and I really want to have an open dialogue about this. Is it worth talking about it tonight? Do we want to have all members here? Stacy, raise your hand and answer, please.
Sure. I think it's funny because Cindy punted it because it was Michelle's thing. And now we're punting it because
But I
it's
know
Cindy's
that
thing.
Cindy
I just wanted to call that out
wants
because
to
it's
too.
funny. But I do agree that we should probably have everybody present because it is an important subject.
Mhm.
One of the things I want to bring up is we did have a meeting today with Weston Sampson about the new Claxton project. And they're gonna go back and figure out, so we have to figure out, do we want the playground as part of the new project?
I don't think so.
Because it's a total switch. We have to figure out, because it can be rolled into design. I did talk to Dave Davison. If there's any money left in the design budget, which Weston and Sampson is gonna go back and figure out and let us know if we do, it can technically be included under the current scope of the work.
I
But do we want to
that's a
think
great
about
idea.
that as its own separate project, but try to do them in tandem so that we're only having construction at that field during one time frame?
Tina, go ahead.
So my thought on it is that it might be viewed as, I don't even know how to say this, but it's like, when we finally start doing it, we know this group will be on it and watching and will they view the playground added
As a bait and
addition
switch?
to be, yes,
Mm.
taken somehow from something they could have had. Does that make sense?
What you're saying makes sense. The way we would have to do this playground, there's no way it could.
Stand on
We
its own.
can't dig down. So anything we do for the playground, we're building up. So when they remove those playground pieces, they cut them out. They did not dig them out. So all of the same things are in play. So we are building up and not down. So we still have to follow the same process, and there will be some upgrades to the fields as well. And some of the biggest upgrades are going to be ADA.
Okay.
So it's not taking away from any
Okay.
options. It's really, do we want to combine them, or do we want to try and piggyback?
I have one
And
comment
do
on
you
this really
still
quick.
Want a tot lot there, or is this the time to think about what's the right thing?
What
there?
if we did like a purely ADA playground? That would be pretty awesome.
We do not have the money for that unless it's just the ground.
Fabian, you're going to speak.
I think, I was just going to mention, I think the key is, A, is it going to delay the project at all? Because people will be quite upset about that. And B, kind of to Dina's point, is it going to be taken as, oh, did they delay this because they wanted to
Yes.
do this
Yes.
playground? As again, I mean, we can't help people's perception. There's nothing we can do about that. But those are just the two things that come to mind from the community standpoint, especially these concerned citizens that tend to be a part of these discussions. So
Yeah, but you know what, too, the other side of that, like devil's advocate, is no matter what we do, there's going to be something that's viewed in some way or another, right? So I don't know. I say separate, but that's just, I haven't really had much time, I think, to think about it. And my initial gut response is separate.
If I may say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy and Fabian, I want to say we're still going through with the McLeod project. McLeod will be eventually converted to a softball diamond. That hopefully that's what the work with Time Bond will be doing. That the project at Claxton is from a CPC standpoint of where I've been is that if you're going to do a project, you do everything there. You don't piecemeal it, because if you're going to get the maximum benefit out of it, if you're going to redo the field and a playground and a walking path and something out of it, you're hitting as many user groups as you can because you're trying to do one big project. That I think if we keep McLeod on the timeline that it's on, and then Claxton to see what we can do and have those open dialogues to say, do we want to do the playground? Do we want to do this? Do we want to do that? That's probably the most viable way to do it. So we're not doing that shell game or catching, this. We're still dedicated to McLeod. We're still going to dedicate, and we're going to change the scope of the project to what's going on at Claxton to include these other amenities. And we're just looking what the best option is for both locations. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And without a doubt, it's the most logical way of approaching it. Stacey, like you mentioned, doing them both at the same time. I'm just speaking from perception, but obviously that is definitely the smartest way of approaching this, is just getting it all done at once, just so we're not trying to do a different project in the future, trying to get funding for that, and so on and so on. If we could do it, we should do it. If I guess the key is communicating it well to the community. Other than that, I think that's the way we should go. That's just my 2 cents.
It does feel like the scope of the Claxton project has changed because of the issues with the field itself. So when we were moving forward with the bigger changes, I wouldn't have wanted to even touch the playground because of the delays, right? Because it was just a bigger, like the scope of the project was so much bigger. I think now that it's scaled back, it feels like we've completely sort of changed what we're able to do. And so bringing in the playground feels like a small incremental add in the grand scheme of the project to me, because we're not expecting the grandstands and all of that work that was going to be built up on Claxton. So the only thing is if understanding how it would impact field use. So if there's ways of like keeping the field offline for a whole another year because we're doing the playground, like that could be problematic. If it's pushing out when Claxton's actually happening, but we're able to use the fields in a more upgraded way, like we have the fence, we can do something with irrigation. It feels like, I think it's the time offline that is the biggest issue because we have so many limited softball spaces. So that would be my biggest concern. Otherwise, I would support rolling it in because we're going to need to have a playground there. It's a very popular spot to have one. And the fact that it's completely offline now, it does not exist, I think is problematic from a town's perspective too. So as much as we want to get Claxton done, we also want to accommodate the needs of the community, and having a playground there is a high priority in my view.
Agree. No, definitely agree. And speaking of communication, I know I've said this before, is I think the way that it was communicated, how we're taking Claxton Playground down, you couldn't have summed it up any better. I thought the way that the message went out, it went to the public. From what I've seen, I know we're not supposed to kind of troll social media, but there wasn't any real big uproar or cry about it. I thought the way that the message was communicated was the proper way to do it. So I commend getting that message out and making it clear and concise.
It's all our PIO, but thank you. The thing is, this could be a very moot point, because if Weston Sampson comes back and says, actually, you've expended 90% of your design funds, it's going to cost X, Y, and Z to design a playground, then we are looking at a different project. We can run them simultaneously. I don't think, Michelle, I think even if the playground lagged a little behind the field upgrades, which I don't imagine it would, because you can put in a playground in much less time than you can fix a field, we would still be able to access the field and just cordon off the playground. So exactly. I think it would be okay. You might lose a couple of parking spots for like lay down areas and fencing, but other than that, I think it would be fine.
Okay. All right. Anything else in regards to playground priorities? So I think we're also going to agree to kind of, and I hate to punt it one more time, but I'd like to have all the members of the commission talking about playgrounds, if that's okay with you, Michelle.
Totally fine.
Okay.
So can I ask,
Yes.
So we're prepared for next meeting. The spreadsheet that we updated and sent with the second spreadsheet where the priorities, it was like Nancy's priorities next to the commission's one. Is
Yep.
that what you were looking for to have a
Yes.
deeper conversation with? Okay.
Because we had talked about this probably back before even Rosemary was built, that we were at the old PSAP building talking about like what our priorities are. So
Yeah.
to see where we were 4 years ago, to see where we are now, I think it was done done the right way. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I will say, I'm sure this is, I don't think I'm going to be able to make the next meeting. I didn't realize that it was moved to that Wednesday because I wasn't here. When you
No, that's fine.
mentioned it, when you mentioned it to Lindsay, I was like, Wednesday? And I'm like, I have 2 work meetings that time. So,
We can see what we can do.
okay, I just didn't want to give false hope that we can talk about this next. If we
So
talk
if the
about it,
commission like is dying to talk about it, we can always have a very specific meeting. We can post a meeting just to talk about playgrounds. That's fine. The other thing is the following Monday is May 9th and we are not able to get a room. So we may not be able to meet that day anyway because of town meeting. So it could be, we're looking at the 23rd anyway. And that might be the right time after the dust settles of town meeting.
couldn't we do Zoom? If we
We-
can't get a room?
3 of us will be at the town meeting,
Oh,
Yeah.
physically at the, got it.
Physically, yeah.
at least 3.
Okay. All right. We will definitely look at the options because it is something, and again, we hate punting it time after time after time, but we want to make sure we have everyone's input and we're all on the same page. So, okay. Facilities. Anything?
Sure,
Sure.
quick one.
Yeah.
There was a little hiccup about the pickleball lines and the tennis team. We have fixed the hiccup.
Okay.
But they did give some good feedback. They actually, the AD and the tennis team encouraged us to put we're moving our tennis lessons to the tennis courts at the high school. And they're happy for us to put down lines at the high school. What I found out is there are 2 courts that are fine to play on, not great, but safe. But the other 2 are wildly unsafe, and that is why they don't play at the high school. So we can line the other 2 with pickleball lines so people would have access in the evenings and on the weekends. And we're moving our own tennis lessons over there to free up Mills and Newman, which
Okay.
is ideal. The other feedback was from the tennis teams is this tape can get slippery. So,
Maybe.
and I've heard that. So what I'm gonna do is look into what the cost of lining some, like with actual paint, because you have to hire a company to come and do it. I can't make Fabian and Chris do it as much as I would like to. They're pros at taping, but I can't make them paint the line. So that is something that we will look into potentially doing, but not until after the tennis season.
Since we're on.
Because you'll lose it for a couple days.
Sure. Since we're on the topic of facilities and pickleball, and if I'm out of order, I apologize. What about the possibility of Pollard? I
We can
know
put
that,
lines down at Pollard.
okay, I mean, I'm just saying
I would
like,
put tape down at Pollard. I would
Sure,
not put
which is-
paint.
which is fine. I mean, I think it is helping the pickleball group that they would have a dedicated area that as long as they fall within the guidelines of the rules of can't use it during the school day, can only happen on certain times. On the weekends, it's a free for all. There's no tennis nets up there, so the tennis people aren't playing there. As an option of I don't want to say give them something, but you're giving them an area that no other user group has permitted for. Like I know there's not field hockey, excuse me, there's roller skating there or something like that, but those are unpermitted people. If we have an option to use a parcel of land that could fall under our jurisdiction to use this for pickleball as a temporary home, I think this should be an option we should explore. Michelle, you had your hand raised.
I disagree with that approach.
Okay, go ahead, fire away.
Well, only because that area is like broken as it is. It's a highly coveted area for different groups to use. Like that, we wanted to use that for the skateboard park that was used for that for a long time. I think the roller hockey groups did use it. Whether we want to regulate roller hockey is a different question, but it's an area that we do use for some overflow of community interest. And I just worry by putting pickleball lines in there, it's then going to fall under, if we're going to ask them to buy tennis badges, that area then falls under like the jurisdiction of like the rules that apply to the tennis courts, where if there's a roller derby game going on, like the roller hockey, pickleball is going to like demand that they get off after 15 minutes. And I'm just not sure that that's like, until we decide that the Pollard should be used for tennis and we upgrade it, I'm just not sure that applying the tape there, that is decidedly saying those will have exclusive use of pickleball. And I'm not sure that we want to do that. I think it's used for other things throughout the summer and off times. And there are very few areas that we can use for sort of multi-purpose areas or multi-purpose functions right now.
So
You know.
Michelle, when the pickleball group came last time, I don't know, I kind of started out with that feeling also, but then, you know, the more I thought about it and I looked around, I drove around, there are a fair amount of tennis courts in town. And I just feel like even if we were to split that Pollard into two sections, two courts, having at least one be purely a pickleball, I think would kind of settle the pickleball group down a little bit and feel like they were listening to them, right? I don't know. I just think like there are a good amount of tennis courts, and if we just have one only pickleball, because if you look at it a different way, the pickleball people will say, well, look at all the tennis courts. You know what I mean? Like, I totally see what you're saying. And I kind of felt that way too. But then when they were talking to us, I kind of felt like, why couldn't we do that? Right? You know, I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
Would you even equate, and Michelle, hopefully this helps, that we don't regulate the people that go on the basketball courts? You can go on a basketball court anytime that you want. You play a game anytime that you want. That the roller hockey people are almost in that same group, that if it's open, you go there, you play, end of story. If it's busy, you come back another time. With the pickleball people, I thought we were looking at that group as very similar to the tennis badge people, is that if we're going to give you a dedicated area to play, we're going to start charging you as a pickleball court, because that is your exclusive area. That I'm looking at it as almost like a revenue stream for the Park and Rec, that if we're going to be doing tennis badges for tennis courts, why can't we do pickleball badges for a dedicated pickleball court, that the Park and Rec is now making income off of something that was just used on a nilly-willy kind of thing. That, I mean, like, I don't like kicking kids off, but if we have a possibility of getting some revenue out of something and using it as a court for a user group that we know that is growing, that we know there's a large contingency of, why not look at the options as a temporary home for them? I know that we have said also that Pollard, in time, they're probably going to take over that use and they're going to build a new Pollard school there. So this is just a temporary home for a temporary fix. But in that meantime, we could possibly have a revenue generator out of this. While, some people are just using, at free will and calling it their own.
Well, and it also gives them an exclusive space too. I mean, I'm sure all of you read the letter that was sent, and a lot of the issues were related to their interactions with the tennis players. That would no longer be an issue. They have their own place. Like you mentioned, Chris, it's temporary, but it's the perfect layout for us to be able to drop down 2 courts that they'll be able to play on after school or from 8 to 8 during the summer. It does bring in revenue because that's an easier way for us to introduce this tennis badge to them, as opposed to right now when they're kind of sharing a space. So it doesn't really make too much sense to do so. It does push some of the other programs that do take place there away a little bit, but I personally feel like that space is not getting enough usage by other parties to justify not doing something more semi-permanent there as it relates to programming, especially if it can bring in revenue like that. So I see all points, but I would lean a little bit more towards putting pickleball there if we can.
I mean, Michelle, I mean, it's a very valid point, you know, like when you brought up, we don't charge for basketball, you just show up when you want. So, I mean, that is, I didn't think of it that way. So it's a very valid point.
No, and I agree. If we don't think that it's used enough for other activities, I would support it. And if it's seen as a temporary solution, because I do think that I would just want to reserve the opportunity to at least review that as a destination for other things. Like we're talking about the action park, we're talking about, you know, I just think that there's other things that are bubbling up and we have very limited space. So to just arbitrarily agree that we're making that dedicated pickleball, like feels a little slapdash to me. So
No, valid point. Stacy, you have your hand raised.
I didn't raise my hand before.
Take
Sorry.
it, Cindy.
No, it's okay. I have actually a few trains of thought on this. So one of them is, could it bring in revenue? Sure, but right now we're at $1,300 for tennis memberships, and I guarantee that more people are using the courts, and we cannot police them.
That is true.
The second thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but pickleball people are passionate. And if we give them a dedicated space and the school takes it over, they're not going to go away quietly. They're going to expect us to find another dedicated place.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And lastly, and that's, well, I should say lastly for now, my biggest thing is we don't have a lot of places for our teens and tweens that can't drive go that are free. We have a tennis court, we have tennis courts, we have basketball courts, and we have this area where a lot of these kids hang out. Now, we don't have any vandalism down there other than like the tunnel. That's, who knows what that is. If we're putting in adults, then we're taking away a space for teenagers. I don't know that teenagers are using it. My first thought was we should put the skateboard park there. Then I was like, well, maybe put it down at Mills, but why wouldn't we put it there? Because it makes more sense and it'll get more use. There's a lot of ways to look at this, and I think we have to really think long-term what we are able to do and promise, because this could solve a problem right now for the pickleball people, but it could create a bigger problem down the road when the school's like, you're done. We need those courts back. You can't use them. And we don't have anywhere else to put them. Now, oh, I lied. It wasn't lastly. It looks, according to Google Earth, and I haven't been down there in a while, but it looks like there's 3 courts. Correct?
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with 3.
Would there be an option to put temporary fencing in between the 3 of them and line one pickleball court and have the skate park on I don't know how big it is. Skate park on another and roller hockey on a third. Maybe that sounds crazy, or maybe we split it in half. I don't know, but like, is that an option? I saw it on my tour when I started 2 years ago, and I haven't seen it since. But I mean, those are some things we could consider as a part-time solution.
Kind of one stone, 3 birds.
I don't know that it makes sense, that it's even feasible to put skateboarders next to roller hockey, next to pickleballers, but
I mean, 2 out of those 3 of those programs are something that we handle, being the skate park and technically pickleball right now. The roller skating people, that's their own independent group.
right. But isn't it nice that when you live in a town that you can go somewhere and just play pickup? You can't do that on any field in this town. Aside from Cutler Park, which is not ours.
That's why I just feel like scheduling and regulating every open space is like,
I don't want
Not enough hours in the day.
I don't think I just think from the tone, well, that one guy, of course, who was just talking about
Tennis
how it's
guy.
annoying. Yeah. I just feel like this thing maybe initially should be a little bit regulated, and whenever we decide this is going to be, that initially if there's a little bit of regulation, because there were already problems with people not getting off the court, being hostile to the other group, like, and that's just, it's disappointing. I mean, we're all adults, right? But like, maybe even if we just try to regulate at beginning, see how it goes, and then kind of loosen up as we progress, right?
Right.
I don't know what the answer there is, but I mean, the fact that they're already having such issues, I mean, within the first week, I feel like.
Maybe we should punt it to the next
New.
meeting.
I just
That's
think
why we're talking.
it's new, and some things there's growing pains, and I think that it was like, it's hard. There's new kids in town, and they're in the tennis players are, there's like a knee-jerk reaction, but if there can be better communication, like that feels like a better approach than being like, oh, here's your own dedicated space. Sorry for the inconvenience. Like, I just think there might be interim steps that we can take to help improve some of this, but
For sure.
I agree, space is limited, and so I'm not opposed. I just want us to be careful when it comes to like every open space.
I think the key, just really quick, is obviously it's a bigger discussion than what we're doing now. So obviously it's something that we kind of have to put off for some time, but we need to be looking a little bit further in the future. Because yes, even if we do the Pollard, as was mentioned before, it's still temporary. So we're still moving them around. This is something that's not going to go away. So we need to slowly start having those discussions here as we go forward on how we're going to address this from a long-term standpoint, instead of just continuing to do kind of short-term solutions. So we'll see. It seems like it's a much bigger discussion though.
No, it's good though. It's good to have the open
Mm-hmm.
dialogue about it. So,
And it
All
does
right.
feel like this could roll into the tot lot discussion about use of that area, because there could be like the more like teen hangout area. Maybe the tot lot is a great place for that, and that doesn't displace that group, and it's a more functional area, and they're not taking up court space like this. So I think we should lump that all together when we're talking about kind of options and where we might be shifting one user group to a different spot.
Right. Agree.
all right, perfect. Anything else in regards to facilities? No, okay, let us now go to number 5 on our agenda, the action items and approvals for special event request. I scroll down.
Page 13 of the packet.
All right, let's crank through these. All right, first up we have, sorry, just scroll right by it. St. Joseph's is requesting the use of Greensfield's multi-purpose to host the field day on Friday, June 10th from 8 to noon. No conflict with any of the fields. All trash will be removed. No food will be served. This is something they have done numerous times in the past, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This is just the basketball court area. It's like
No,
not
just
the
the
grass.
whole,
It's the whole field from
whole
8 to
field.
noon.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought multi-purpose would apply to non-grass, so I was confused.
No, I think it's all the grass is what it is. Friday, June 2nd. All right. And any discussion about this? All right, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve St. Joe's request to use Greens Field for field day on June 10th from 8 to 12.
All right,
Second.
I have a second. All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, Michelle Geddes,
Aye.
Dina Hannigan,
Aye.
and the chair is also an aye. Excuse me, vice chair is an aye, so it passes unanimously. All right, second one we have is the Cub Scout Pack 4 is requesting use of Mills multi-purpose field to host the end of year picnic, June 12th, from 4 to 7. They have done this before also, I think. Okay.
Yep.
Any discussion or concerns or cause in regards to this one?
No.
All right. I will
can
entertain a
make
motion.
Yes, I will make a motion, although I just lost the page. Hold on here.
Page
I
13.
will make a motion to approve the Cub Scouts Pack 4 use of the Mills multi-purpose field to host the end of year picnic on Sunday, June 12th from 4 to 7 p.m.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Fantastic. All right. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, Michelle Geddes,
Aye.
Dina Hannigan, the vice chair is also an aye, so passes unanimously. Next up is August. The Bay State football is requesting the use of DeFazio All to host the Bay State football clinic from Monday, August 15th to Wednesday, August 17th from 9 to 2. This is something that I know they have done in the past, and we've done a $5 fee for being a clinic. Is there any other information in regards to this, Stacy or Fabian?
Yes. So because Mark Soccer sent in their summer request back, I don't know, last year sometime, we put it aside, and the dates do conflict with one of their clinics, soccer clinics, but in the history of these events, these two groups have figured it out amongst themselves. So I'm going to reach out to both Mark and Tom Lamb to figure out what their plan is for the days that they overlap.
How many days are they overlapping with it only being 3 days for the clinic for football? All
They
three,
overlap all 3 days.
all 3 days.
Um,
Okay.
Only one of Mark's clinics overlaps. The other ones are off.
Okay.
I thought all 3 of his clinics were going to overlap, but just one.
Just one. Okay. All right. Any further discussion, comments, or concerns?
And the Bay State, that's through.
It's like football
high
camp, the
school.
high school.
It's just, it's just called that. It's not like a for-profit. It looks like with
No,
Roy.
no, it's not.
Yeah,
No.
It
Joe
does,
Gann.
but it,
Okay.
And this is the same one they did last year, right?
Yep.
Stacy?
Yeah, they
Okay.
do it every year.
So,
And they don't use Memorial just because it's not a large enough area. It sounds like they're using a lot. of-
Right.
they use all the
It's-
fields at Phasio.
Yeah, it's not just Needham, it's Bay State, so it's Norwood, Walpole, like all. It's the Bay State conference that comes,
good.
so they need it. They've done it for years and years and years.
And we've all made it work. So,
Oh, yeah. I just don't see how soccer is going to be able to have a clinic at the same time as that. Like
They
that
may
does-
have to go to
impossible.
Memorial for clinic.
Got it.
So that could be the option, or other places, or maybe they move it later in the day because these guys are 9 to 2. I think Mark has done that in the past. They've just moved the clinic to I don't know.
Got it.
I'll let them figure it out. I'll talk to them and we'll.
and
Okay.
you think also
Figure it
like
out.
that time of the year, not a lot of stuff going on, like summer programs are over, not a lot of high schools programs starting up. So there are other fields that we probably have that they could use. Soccer, that is.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah.
all right, they've done it in the past, they'll make it work. I will entertain a motion for the Bay State football.
I
request.
will motion to approve Bay State using the DeFazio all to host the Bay State football clinic on Monday, August 15th through Wednesday, August 17th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The estimated number of vehicles worries me, but the estimated number of vehicles is a maximum of 40, no conflict with field use, and prepackaged snacks will be served. They don't need a permit for prepackaged snacks.
Nope.
Okay.
And there will be police there for parking too.
Oh, right, good.
Yeah, I did the walkthrough with them last year and they have it down to a science. Like he's more prepared than almost anybody I've seen putting on a special event. So they have it down packed.
Yeah, I was like, if all these people are coming, but there's only gonna be 40 cars, but that makes
Drop
sense.
off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a second. Wonderful. Any further discussion?
Yes. Just waiting for the further discussion.
Go ahead. Yes, discussion. Yes.
I'm just wondering how, so is it contingent on them sorting it out? I just really worry about.
It'll be, you
approving
should
one.
adjust the motion so that it's contingent upon me sorting it out with them. And then,
Because I just think if soccer got it in first, like there has to be some sort of way that we're helping facilitate some of these conflicts,
Yeah.
because these are two huge clinics that both groups are reliant upon, and
Yeah, and I'm gonna talk to both
What kind of-
groups. I
Oh,
mean,
sorry,
the-
Stacy. I'm so sorry, but I have a quick question. So the clinic that soccer, my understanding is that, like, I compare the Bay State Football Clinic, that would be like soccer's memorial. Well, not as big, but it's like,
It
big,
is similar,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, what big clinic yet is happening again for soccer? Is this something that happens every year, or is it just
Yeah,
another
so
clinic?
think
Michigan
it's a
runs
MAP
3
program.
separate clinics. yes.
Oh, okay.
but it's newer, and so I think if they are able to reconcile it, like that's
Right, let them-
completely fine. I'm just sensitive to the space and the fact that they're both relying on that, so I
Yep,
just.
I would adjust the recommendation to letting me figure it, making sure that all ducks are in a row. And then,
We could bring new requests next meeting, once they get it all worked out.
Sure.
I could put it in the special event requests again, including the soccer one, and it'll have the updated dates and times. That's something that we could do too. Just bring it back next meeting.
Did
I would-
soccer, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tina. No, go
Did
ahead.
soccer also request the field in the center of the track for that?
I would have to pull their request up, but they
Okay.
did, they
it's
did
in,
request.
it's in your packet.
Oh, it is? Okay, all right.
At the end of it's in all the Google forms you
One
can
of
scroll
the
through, but
59
yeah, it's
pages.
in there.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, that
We
is,
get updated forms because Mark's came in too early, so we didn't think about them. We just stuck them aside.
yeah.
Tom's came in when they were supposed to, so there's that situation, but I'll talk to them and ask them to figure out. Tom was my high school football coach. He was the high school.
Oh,
football
wow.
coach. I was at Norwood High.
I love
He's
him.
somewhat of a legend, so.
Yes.
And Roy, Mr. Johan, I mean,
Johan.
he
Roy
was
Johan.
it when
Yeah.
when Chris and I were there. Like these are
Yeah.
are legends that are.
And he's still
there's no
coaching.
question.
He is.
Yeah,
Still
Carte
coaching.
blanche.
he was my track coach too. I mean, he did like all the
Crazy.
track coaching. So yeah, there's fully support it. Just conscious.
So why
of-
don't we vote to get updates?
Yeah, let's vote. All right.
We'll
Yes.
Bring back.
And I don't like, to me, I don't feel like we need to have an update. It's like if the time works, it should be approved and be done. I
Great.
mean, from my perspective, I don't
Well, we
need to
still-
see an adjustment.
We still have to vote on the soccer one too, though. So that's why I mentioned bringing it back, because the soccer one hasn't been approved quite yet, the soccer clinic.
Because it got
And
lost.
so
It got pushed
historically-
aside because they submitted so early that you actually haven't voted on that one. So we need to
Let's
vote
let
on
the
all of
two
them.
user Groups work it out and come back with a dual
Yes.
motion of this one and the soccer one. Sound
So
good?
Chris,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, that sounds good. I just have a quick question. Historically, they've always done this at the same time, always, and they've worked it out.
That is my intel, yes, but I will
Okay.
find out tomorrow.
I'm just curious. Okay.
The
We got
MAP programs wouldn't have started. They probably started like 3 years ago.
Oh,
So it's
Okay.
those, as far as I know, but there's also prep clinics, which are different, but I think it's the MAP program that would happen in August. That's like the youth,
yeah.
Massachusetts, like, yeah, they're liaising
Yeah.
with, they're working with a different organization to put these.
Oh,
on,
okay. Okay.
you know.
All righty.
Alrighty then. So we have a motion and a second. I will go to a final roll call vote. Michelle Geddes,
Hi.
Dina Hannigan.
Yes.
The vice chair is also in a yay, so it approves unanimously. All right. That is it for a special event request. Let us now go to the, let's see, topics. I'm sorry, meeting minutes.
Minutes.
My bad. And that is going to scroll. Wow. All the way down. We are now to page 56 out of 59 for the minutes of March 28th. I'll give the members a moment to peruse over them. See if there are any questions, concerns, or comments in regard to that, and then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Ooh, 7:04 she started the meeting. Wow, that's not good.
I can't vote on these because I wasn't there.
Oh, so we can't vote on,
Wait
the
for
minutes.
personnel.
So, all right, so we're gonna have to punt this minutes of the meeting to the next meeting where we have a quorum that can
Okay.
vote on them. Okay, wow, that comes off the
Got it.
list. Makes it easy.
Next.
All right, next, let me make sure. Nothing else from this. All right, let's now go up back to topics for future meetings. Dina, I'm gonna let you start off with this one of what happened or what we saw on Saturday morning.
Yes, so showed up for field hockey Saturday morning. And it was actually the worst I've ever seen the fields. The two turf fields were horrendous. I mean, it was horrible. I do have a few pictures of it. I don't have them. I had my assistant director took them. I can get them. But there was trash everywhere. There was equipment, like people just left their equipment. I don't even know what kind of, there was cones, there was soccer balls, there was tape I mean, it was the worst
Wait,
I've ever seen it.
Michelle, when was the Hella landing?
That was at let's see, probably 6:45.
Friday night?
Yeah, and I left at 7:15, and I was on Conroy, which is why I can't remember.
So I'm just wondering if people left.
No, they did
Yeah.
not leave. No,
Okay.
and I left
Okay.
at 7:15. The helicopter was still there. Everyone on that multi-purpose field were still there.
And there was a group, I don't know who it was, but there was a group after, I do know lacrosse was there practicing because both my boys play. But that they were done fairly early on Friday, and there was a group that came on after them. I have no idea who they were. I don't even know what sport, but the boys confirmed there was another group that came. So whatever group that was, I mean, I don't want to put the blame on them, but it was really horrendous. I mean, Chris saw it too, actually. It was pretty bad.
Well,
Yeah,
it
can look
sounds
up the
like it's a
event.
sports group and not like vandalism. It's not like it was beer bottles. It sounds like
Right,
athletic.
it was just not picking up after what you did.
Yeah.
You just left the Poland Spring bottle down, you left your equipment down, and you like, see you tomorrow kind of thing.
Yeah,
We can look
literally.
up the permits and contact the user groups and just find out like what happened and ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Can I also make a suggestion of like, I like the idea of reaching out those specific user groups to say, hey, listen, here are the pictures, don't let it happen again. I will chalk it up to, it's the beginning of the season. People are going to forget certain things. We need to hold them accountable. It's good to call them out on that. Is it worth even sending those pictures out to all the user groups to say, hey, listen, and not call out those particular user
Right.
groups, say, hey, this is what we're seeing at the fields. Everybody, you got to do your job. You got to help us here.
That's a
We
great
can't
idea.
Let this happen. Like, it's the first week of the season. We're getting things going, and just let people know, like, we're going to see it.
That's a
like,
great
we do it every
idea.
day. Let's just send it out to the user groups of everybody to say, listen, first time, all right, we got it, but we can't let this happen every single time. We're not
Right.
going to pick up at you.
You made the point, like coaches need to stay until every single player leaving the field is
Yes,
gone and all equipment, like
yes.
it sounds like there's just like this mass exit and they like
Yes.
didn't, and everyone just left everything. Like there's an expectation
Yes.
that you clean up.
I think showing the pictures also show people like, this is what we're talking about. Like, some people might think, oh, I just left a water bottle there, that, that's not much. No, it is. When there's like 30 water bottles on the ground or this or that, this is what we need you to pick up: the tape, the shoes, the whatever's left there. Just pick up after, what you did.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking.
And literally,
Bring it out.
yeah, and a lot of the trash and water bottles, they'd be on the ground like steps from a garbage. It's
Mhm.
just tell
Yeah.
your players to do their part. If it's not their trash, who cares? Pick it up, throw it out.
I think once
know?
we tie something in that holds these user groups accountable, we'll see a change.
Agree.
Because as long as we're just saying it now to them, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, and maybe they'll do it once or twice, but they forget about it. But if there is some type of financial liability or
Yep.
renewal,
Think of a permit.
I totally agree.
Yep.
That will make an impact.
Definitely.
'cause,
That's a whole
yeah,
policy
that would-
change and that we definitely need to move towards that. Sorry, Fabian, I just totally talked to him.
Oh, no problem. I was just saying that's in the past, that's the only thing that really made an impact for anywhere that I've worked until
Yeah.
they financially affected or potentially losing their permit.
Yeah,
And it's very simple. I mean, just like you said, Dina, it's simple as at the end of practice, have everybody there pick up some trash. That's how it was when I grew up. Like
Yeah.
every sport.
yes, that's what I tell our players. Yeah.
Yep.
And
So-
the other thing is, it sounds like a common sense, like solution, but it's huge is when I go, I always bring 2 garbage bags that I would put like in my kitchen garbage, like, cause there's not a ton of garbage. It can be hard to find one or whatever, like bring trash bags with you, carry in, carry out. Like, it's not hard. I don't understand it. Yeah.
Or hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, once we get this OFS 2 / park ranger, depending on the hours of some of these programs, they'll be able to check in right after some of these folks leave, take images, this and that, and we can start holding folks accountable.
Yeah.
So-
I will
If you
send
could
the
have your,
pictures.
send
Yeah.
those pictures over and I'll send an email out to the group
Yeah.
at large and be like, we're not calling anybody out, but this is what we're seeing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
The only other question or comment that I would bring up for topics for future meetings is, are the elementary schools not letting Eddie's crew on the field during the day? Like, I'm just going to use Newman as an example. Are there certain schools that won't let them do the work that they need to do because school's in session?
I am unaware of this,
Okay.
I
but that
heard
doesn't mean
about
it's not
that.
happening.
I've heard about it too, like, like there are certain things like, yes, again, the kids are in school to go to school, but if Eddie and his crew can't get on certain things, because, and then everything gets backed up, is that an issue that we need to address or bring up with the school committee or somebody in town, that if, you're not allowed to do certain work at a school because it's school time? I mean, is that an issue, or is that something?
So this is not new, this is not exclusive to Needham, just so you're
Oh, yeah, no,
aware.
no.
I have dealt with this in the past. And I can reach out to the school. I can talk to Eddie and find out what's going on, like
Sure.
which schools are toughest time. We did in prior communities have to figure out the most ideal time.
Right.
And like when this, like first thing in the morning, they would do super close to the building. And then they would move away from it as the day wore on, because kids are easily distracted.
Right.
But we can't mow the grounds at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just not an option. They have to work with us. So
Right.
it may just be something we have to figure out of like what day and time works best, and make sure it's realistic for Eddie's crew, because it's like every school isn't the only school on his schedule.
Exactly. So, okay. All right. Yeah. If we can kind of follow up with that, because I know at certain schools, it's been an issue in the past that it's like, kind of have to do the work, can't let it go and let it, get out of hand. So, all right. Anything else for topics for future meetings?
I
Okay.
had just one clarifying question
Sure.
around fields. So I was at cricket a lot this weekend. Are there no dog, like there are different rules posted for dogs on cricket than I've seen for other fields. It just says that dogs need to be leashed, but that dogs are allowed on cricket. So that's correct. There are
That is correct.
so many dogs.
Yep. Not
So
leashed.
many children, so much activity on cricket. Why is there a difference in
The only
the rules
two-
on cricket?
complexes that I know that there are no dogs allowed are Memorial and DeFazio.
Okay,
That
got
all
it.
the other complexes,
Because
if
of
you
the
can
turf.
have a dog, but it has to be leashed.
Okay,
Do people follow these rules? Not
Right. So it's
necessarily.
only the complexes with turf, Michelle, because
I
if a
see.
dog
Okay.
defecates on the turf, it's a whole process. And
Got
so
it.
for DeFazio, we just blanket it. Nobody listens, but that's one of the places. And then Memorial's the other. Nobody
I
listens
started
there.
like reprimanding people that were on my daughter's soccer team to get their dog off. And they're like, no, it says on, I'm like, no, it says on the sign that your dog needs to be leashed. Never mind. Goodbye. I was like making enemies on the sideline.
No, I like it.
Like, I'm doing my duty as a commissioner. And then I
Way to
was
be. Way to be.
incorrect.
Oh, good enough. That's a good thing to put out there. So very
I
good.
don't, I think those are the only, I'm like, so I guess I'm just more regularly at Memorial and DeFazio. So I thought the rules were the same. So
Nope.
thank you.
No, good call. All right. No, nothing else for topics for future meetings. Issues not anticipated by the chair within 48 hours. I think we kind of went over a bunch of stuff. Let us now jump to the next meeting dates. Is that we are looking for tentatively Wednesday, April 27th. Michelle has already indicated that she cannot make this meeting. So it would just be by Zoom, and again, would be with myself, Dina, if you can make it, and Cindy, if she is available for that meeting. So we will kind of pencil that one in for right now. We'll double check with Cindy when she gets back. Monday, May 9th is a possible town meeting date. So, I mean, if we need to meet, we have no place to meet, as you think you stated, Stacey.
That is correct.
So I mean, that one, pencil it in too, is like, if we need to meet in just a quick room to have a quick discussion about something for town meeting. I doubt that will happen, but let's just
There
kind of.
are no rooms for a quick meeting.
God.
And the town management is requesting limited attendance from the department heads. So I don't know, I think they're still being careful on the COVID front about extra people in there.
Let's do this then. Let's punt the May 9th meeting. If we need to have anything special prior to that, we could do a Zoom. If
Mhm.
need be. So let's just punt the May 9th meeting, and if we need to meet, we'll meet by Zoom. Date to be determined. And then we will be back live Monday, May 23rd, back at the Rosemary Complex.
Correct.
Okay. And then June 13th will be our next scheduled meeting after that. Correct?
Yep.
All right. Anything else that any commissioner or staff member has any questions, concerns, or comments about anything we went over tonight? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Michelle Geddes,
Aye.
Dina Hannigan,
I.
and the vice chair is also an aye. Everyone, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and have a great night, okay?
Thanks, you guys
Yes,
too.
thank you.
See you all in the
Thank
fields.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See